In this video, you'll learn how to simplify radical expressions. So how do we simplify radical expressions? All we have to do is we factor the radicand, or the numbers and variables inside the square root, cube root, and so on. So we just have to factor the number into its prime factors and then expand the variables. Alright, so let's solve some problems here. Assuming x and y are both positive, write the following expression in simplest radical form. So we're given here this expression xy times the square root of 27 x to the 5th y to the 6th. Alright, so how do we simplify this? Okay, take note that the expression inside the radical, we call this as the radicand. We just have to factor this. So we have here the constant, or the number, which is 27, and the variables. We just have to factor the number into its prime factors, and then we expand the variables. Since this is square root, so that means the index is 2, so we have to write everything under the radical, or inside the radical, into square. So let's do that. Now, what are the factors of 27? Okay, factors of 27 are 3, 3, 9. So we can write 27 as 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. We can write this as 3 squared times 3. And then x to the 5th, we can write that as x squared times x squared times x, or x to the 1. Because expressions with the same basis, we just have to add exponents. So adding 2 plus 1 would just be equal to 5. And then the y to the 6, we can write that as y squared times y squared times y squared. And we can write this expression here as xy square root of 3 squared times 3 times x squared times x squared times x times y squared times y squared times y squared. So no more space. Alright, and then we get the square root of those numbers and variables that are raised to the power of 2. So this would become xy. We copy xy. Square root of 3 squared is 3, so we put 3 outside. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of x squared is x. Then square root of y squared is y. Then square root of another y squared is y. Then the square root of the third y squared is y. And we are now left with only 3 and x inside the radical. So that would be square root of 3x. And now we all have these variables outside the radical. So we just have to simplify this. So we group like terms. So we group all of the x's and the y's, and we only have one constant here, or number, which is 3, so we just copy that. So we multiply x times x times x, so that is x cubed. Then we multiply y times y times y times y, so we have 4 y's there, so that would be y to the 4th. Then square root of 3x. Alright, so now this is the simplified form of this given expression here. Now let's solve another problem. Given x is greater than 0 and y greater than 0, select the expression that is equivalent to square root of 16x to the 7th, y to the 11th. So we just need to simplify this, and then we're given here options or choices for the answers. Alright, again, we simplify the radicand. We factor the number to its prime factors, and then we expand the variables. Since this is square root, that means the index is just equal to 2. Alright, so what are the factors of 16? Oh, it doesn't say simplify. It says select the expression that is equivalent to. Okay, take note of the choices here, that all of the choices are in their exponential form. So that means we rewrite this given equation here, or expression, into its exponential form. Alright, since this is square root, so the index is equal to 2, and then we can write this given expression as 16x to the 7th, y to the 11th to the power of 1/2, and then we distribute each of the terms here to 1/2. So this would become 16 to the 1/2 times x to the 7th to the 1/2 times y to the 11th to the 1/2. And then applying the power rule from the properties of exponents. So let's copy 16 to the 1/2 first, times x to the 7th to the power of 1/2. So we multiply 7 and 1/2. So this is just x to the 7 over 2. And then times y to the 11 times 1/2. So this is just y to the 11 over 2. Alright, notice here in the choices that we don't have 16, so that means we need to simplify 16 further. We can rewrite 16 as 4 squared, because 4 times 4 is 16. So this is 4 squared to the 1/2 times x to the 7 over 2 times y to the 11 over 2. And 4 squared to the 1/2 is just 4 to the 2 over 2 times x to the 7 over 2 times y to the 11 over 2. And 2 over 2 is just equal to 1. Therefore, the expression would be, or the equivalent expression would be 4x to the 7 over 2 times y to the 11 over 2. So the answer here is this one. Alright, let's solve another one. Given x greater than 0 and y greater than 0, select the expression that is equivalent to cube root of negative 64x to the 6th, y to the 12th. So let's rewrite this equation into its exponential form. So take note here that the index is equal to 3, that is cube. So that means we raise the radicand to 1/3. So that would be negative 64 x to the 6th, y to the 12th to the power of 1/3. And then we distribute 1/3 to each of the expressions inside the parentheses. So this is negative 64 to the 1/3, x times x to the 6th to the 1/3 times y to the 12th to the 1/3. And then, okay, we're given here choices, and note that the coefficients here, the number in each of the choices, is equal to 4 or negative 4. So that means we need to simplify negative 64. So negative 64, we can write this as negative 4 cubed to the power of 1/3, because 4 times 4 times 4 is just 64. times x to the 6 to the 1/3. This is just 6 over 3 times y to the 12 to the 1/2. This would be y to the 12 over, this is 3. Alright, so this would become -4 to the 3 over 3 times x to the 2, because 6 over 3 is 2, and y to the 12 over 3 is 4. And 3 over 3 is just equal to 1. So this is just -4 to the 1 x squared y to the 4th. So this is now the expression that is equivalent to cube root of -64 x to the 6 y to the 12. So the answer here is this one, the first one. Let's solve one more. Assuming x and y are both positive, write the following expression in simplest radical form. So we're given here this expression x cubed square root of 20 x squared y to the 5th. So we just have to simplify this. Now we can rewrite or factor the number into its prime factors, and then we expand the variables. Since we're given here square root, so that means the value of the index is equal to 2. Right, so what are the factors of 20? So 20 can be 4 times 5, and 4 is just 2 squared times 5. And then y to the 5th, we can write y to the 5th as y squared times y. Now we can write this expression as x cubed. We just copy x cubed because that is already outside the radical. So square root of 2 squared times 5 times x squared times y squared times y squared times y. And now we can get the square root of each of the numbers and variables inside the radical. Square root of 2 squared is just 2, so we put 2 outside. X squared, square root of x squared is x. Square root of y squared is y. Then square root of y squared is y. Then we're left with 5y inside the radical. Now we just have to simplify all the variables and numbers outside the radical. So we group like terms. So we copy 2 since it's alone. Then we multiply x cubed and x, that is just x to the 4th. Then y times y is y squared. Square root of 5y. So this is now the simplest radical form of this given expression here.